Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Apatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari salutations to all. So we are seeing the fourth canto and the chapter number 27 now. We are seeing about Puranjana's story, and it is supposed to be it's not a historical story. It is meant for explaining certain Vedantic truths to Raja Barhishad or Prachin Barhi. And Naradji is explaining about this story of Puranjana. We saw that this Puranjana, how he was very attached to, he was a person who had a friend called Avijnata, and he was traveling across the world, Puranjana, to find the place which is going to give him maximum happiness. And he comes to this Bhagavati, he comes to this place in the Himalayas, and there he finds this very beautiful damsel. And she is having this 10 attendants, and there is a 5-hooded serpent in front of her who is a bodyguard. She's 16 years of age. She can take up any form at will. So he asks her, who is she? And she says she also doesn't know her background, and she has no answers to his questions. But she promises him maximum enjoyment, and he also, and she tells him to marry. And he also falls for her, and he is married her. And we saw how he was very attached to her. Many children, grandchildren are born to him through her. And if she sleeps, he sleeps. If she is happy, he is happy. If she cries, he cries. If she eats, he eats. All that happens. Now, we see that this Puranjana, one is attached and he can't handle her displeasure. So when he goes to do hunting once and he has not told her, and he comes back and she is very upset. Now he is very sad that why is she upset, and he asks forgiveness and all that happens. Then we saw that this Puranjana lived in this way with so much of attachment to his wife, his children, his grandchildren. And he also did a lot of yajnas in which he sacrificed many animals. Once what happened, this chief of Gandharvas, so now we are on 27th chapter. Till this is what we had seen. Now we continue further. So this chief of Gandharvas named by the name of Chandavega. Chandavega iti khyato Gandharvadhi patindrapa Gandharvastasya balinaha Ushtyuttara shatatrayam. So this chief of Gandharvas called Chandavega, 360 strong Gandharvas are in his retinue, and Gandharva women who are equally strong. Some of them are fair, some are dark. They ravage the city. And they ravage the city, which is supposed to be well built, which is well provided with enjoyments and everything. They start looting. So this Prajagara, who is the serpent, that damsel serpent, the Prajagara offers some resistance, and for full 100 years that Prajagara fought single-handed with those 720. You see, 360 into 2. Gandharva men and women. So this 720. He fights single-handedly with all of them. Now, Prajagara is fighting single-handedly, and 100 years this battle is going on. So he also loses strength. Now this Puranjana feels very sad. And everybody in the kingdom also, because now Prajagara is losing his strength. So what happened? This Puranjana is completely enslaved by sense enjoyments. He doesn't have that kind of he has not built an army, and he has not done his Kshatriya dharma. He has lived more lavishly, enjoying and doing some yajnas to get more power, but he has not done or to please the devatas and get more enjoyment, get more punya to enjoy in the heavens also. So that way he goes on. So he has not prepared, he has not done his duties. Meanwhile, what happens? There is a daughter of Kala. Kala means time. Now this daughter wants a husband. But nobody will become the husband of this daughter. Why? Because who will marry the daughter of Kala? They will think that she will bring misfortune. So because nobody wanted to marry her, she got a name as Durbhaga. Means somebody who is cursed. Durbhaga. Once she was accepted by royal sage Puru. And she, who is son of Yayati. Yayati, the story will come further in Bhagavatam. He was also as indulgent king like this Puranjana only. And he was becoming old and he wanted to enjoy more. So he borrowed the youth of his son. Puru volunteered and gave his youth. And the Yayati enjoyed with that youth. And then finally he realized that, oh, what have I done? Even with this so much of youth I've taken from my son, my desires are not getting exhausted at all. And he is very pleased with Puru. He returns the youth, and that story comes ahead. So that Puru, so accepted by this royal sage Puru, she conferred on him the boon of sovereignty. Highly pleased with him. So on a certain day, Naradji is saying that when Naradji descended from Brahmaloka to the terrestrial realm, to the earth, then this Durbhaga comes to court him, knowing very well that he is a brahmachari, he is an Aishtika brahmachari. So she approaches him. He says, no, I'm not interested. He refuses to marry her. And then what happens? She pronounces a curse that you will never stay in one place. Just give me 1 minute. So she gave a curse to Naradji, and she said that you will not stay in one place forever. That's why it is said Naradji keeps moving everywhere. In a way, that curse became a blessing for him, because then he goes everywhere, and the more he travels, the more he is able to spread the name of Bhagwan. So she cursed him. But look at that, the heart of Naradji. Naradji gives her a solution. See that. So Naradji said, she approaches this lord of the Yavanas, who is Bhaya, fear, and accepted him for her husband. Bhaya, so she asks Bhaya. So she quotes Bhaya now. So Durbhaga is quoting Bhaya. So she says, I quote you, the foremost of the Yavanas, as my coveted husband. O gallant youth, the hope centered by creatures in you never goes in vain. People have so much of hope in fear, you see. Means what? With fear, people control many things. And they hope to get their objective done through that fear, when they induce fear in the minds of people. So she says this, that the hope in you never goes in vain. Both he who does not part with and he who refuses to accept that which offers itself as worth giving or taking are ignorant and perverse. This is the way she is approaching, saying that somebody who does not part with what should be given and does not accept what should be accepted, that person is perverse. And the wise feel sorry for them. So please be gracious to me and accept me, who offer my hand to you. To the compassionate, the afflicted, that is the sacred duty of a person. The afflicted comes, then the compassionate one will accommodate, will help. So now she is presenting herself as afflicted, Durbhaga. And she wants to marry this Bhaya. So this Lord of Yavanas, what does he reply? He says that with the help of my intuitive vision, I have found out a husband for you. See, he also doesn't marry her. He finds another husband for her. The world does not welcome you because you are inauspicious and despised. Now moving about imperceptibly, enjoy you the whole creation owing its existence to karma. Sally forth with my army and you will bring about destruction of all the created beings. Here is my brother Prajvara, mortal fever. So Prajvara is the brother. So this Durbhaga will marry this Prajvara. And be you sister to me. With you both and followed by a formidable army, I shall range over this world unperceived. So this again, all this will come in symbolism. Naradji will explain. That time we will take up. Durbhaga marries this Prajvara, fever. So Durbhaga and fever, they create so much of physical challenges for people, and then Bhaya is that which creates enough mental challenges. So this chapter 27 ends with this. Now what happened? This Kala, Prajvara and the daughter of Kala, along with lots of these Yavanas led by this Bhaya, they come on this earth, they pervade this whole earth, and on a particular day, they attack even the capital of Puranjana. So already the Gandharvas have attacked, now the Yavanas have also attacked. So what happened? Rich in earthly enjoyments and guarded by Prajagara. Prajagara is already fighting, he is becoming weak, and those people in the kingdom, they were having fear. Now this Yavana also has attacked. So the daughter of Kala took possession of the city of Puranjana by force. And overcome by her, any man would become powerless at once. So these Yavanas, they entered the city, which was thus being forcibly enjoyed by her, through the various entrances on all sides. Remember, 9 entrances are there in the city. So through the 9 entrances, all the Yavanas, they enter and they oppress the population. Now this city is tormented. Puranjana was very much attached to the family, to the children, to the spouse, to the grandchildren, and to all this. He thinks it is mine. And he was troubled with this feeling of mineness, fell a prey to many agonies. Embraced by that maid, the daughter of Kala, and divested of his glory, Puranjana felt wretched, his mind being engrossed in pleasure of sense. Now you see that. Kala is embracing him, and this fellow, his thoughts are with his family and all of that, and even there he still wants to enjoy. Now he is forcibly robbed of his power by the Gandharvas and the Yavanas. He lost the power of Vivek also. Externally already he is being looted. Internally, his Vivek also is gone. And he is seeing in front of him the city is getting destroyed, his children, his grandchildren, servants, ministers. His wife was cold and indifferent. His body is caught in the snares of that maid, Kala. He still is having thoughts of enjoyment, and this destruction, etc., is happening outside, but his mind is still in that. And the land of Panchala, overrun by the enemy, he was completely sad, plunged in darkness, plunged in this, complete anxiety. Even at this time, you see, his mind does not think about Bhagwan or anything. He is losing everything, but look at the mind, what he is saying, what is said here. Kaman abhilashandino yatayamanscha kanyaya vigatatma gati snehaha utradaranscha lalayan. This is what the Bhagavatam says here, that miserably hankering after the objects of enjoyment, rendered insipid by that maid, and affectionately taking care of his progeny and wife, the king lost his spiritual moorings as well as the affection of his people, and reluctantly proceeded to quit that city, which had now been taken possession of by the Gandharvas and Yavanas and devastated by the daughter of Kala. So he leaves the city. What does that mean? He died, basically. In the meantime, Prajvara, the eldest brother of the Lord of the Yavanas, who bore the name of Bhaya, made his appearance and set fire to the entire city with intent to please his brother. So this Prajvara and Kala, they both ravaged the city, destroyed it, and now he has set the whole city on fire also. When this city was in flames, this Puranjana suffered untold agony. The entire city, his own retinue, the mistress of the family, the sons, daughters, all of them died. Now Prajagara's own abode, that serpent, five-hooded serpent, was besieged by the Yavanas, and the city was occupied by the daughter of Kala. So this Prajagara, he fought very valiantly, but he also had to leave finally. So the said guard of the city felt sorely distressed as he closed with Prajvara. And he was unable to defend the city, found himself in great straits. He shook violently and sought to fly away, even like a serpent moves out from the hollow of a tree which has caught fire. With his limbs enfeebled and himself deprived of his manliness by the Gandharvas, he actually wept when intercepted by his enemies, the Yavanas. This Puranjana, you see the attachment. This is all showing the power of attachment. So Puranjana, even now, at this stage of his life, he is having this feeling of I and mine. So this Puranjana, see there, Puranjana, whose mind has been perverted with the thoughts of I and mine in respect of his body and house, etc., felt wretched and when the hour of separation from his wife came. So at the time of death, what is he thinking? He is still thinking of his wife, he is still thinking of his children, and he is stuck daughter-in-laws, grandsons, son-in-laws, retainers, house, treasury, belonging, and whatever remained in his name. They have destroyed most of the things, but whatever is remaining, he is still attached to those. Now he is also thinking about what will happen to his wife and children and who will take care of them. So now you see, he says, when I am gone to the other world, how should this widowed mother of the family eke out her existence? Lamenting the lot of her children. Entirely depending on me, she would not take her food until I had been fed, nor would she bathe until I had taken my bath. She would get awfully frightened when I was angry and would hold her tongue out of fear when scolded by me. He was very attached to her. But in his delusion, he is thinking that she is helpless and she is dependent. She would admonish me when my judgment failed and would grow emaciated through grief when I was away from home. Now will she be able to follow the way of the householders when I am no longer with her? Even though she is the mother of heroic sons, and how will these helpless sons and daughters who have no one else to depend upon survive when I am gone? On the other hand, they will perish like the inmates of a broken vessel in mid-ocean. Now he is having all these anxieties. So the city is being ravaged, things are getting destroyed, his wife, his children, grandson, they are also under attack. He is also on the verge of his death and he is thinking all this about. No spiritual thought, no thought of the divine, no trust in karma also. Imagine how much karma rituals he has done along with his family. If nothing, at least one should have faith that I have done so much karmas, my family will be protected. You know, even if not God, punya karma is done, that punya will protect. Nothing, no faith in anything. This is where the important point comes about what is the... So in what do I anchor for my safety and security emotionally and to feel a sense of strength from inside? If one does not believe in God, does one believe in karma siddhanta of law of cause and effect, or does one believe at least in the immortal nature of the self? So whichever path, jnana, karma, bhakti, any one should anchor in. Otherwise, how will one drop the attachment to the body and the anxieties that will come when one has to leave the near and dear ones and go? See what is happening to that Puranjana. So this Puranjana, while he was sorrowing thus with this such a feeble mind, even though he should not have done so. Why he should not have done so? Because one is Bhagavan will take care. Second, each one's karma will take care. Why should one bother? Evam kripanaya buddhya shochantam atadarhanam grahitum kritadhirenam bhayanam abhyapadyata. So then, as he was doing this bhaya came to seize him, meaning to take away his prana. So when he was being taken by the Yavanas to their own place, bound as a beast, his attendant followed him, sorrowing in extreme perturbation. When the serpent too, that had been held up, deserted the city and came up to his master, the city was completely destroyed after him and reduced to the elements. While being forcibly dragged, Puranjana failed to remember his old friend and companion Avijnata. Beginning of the story, Avijnata was mentioned. He did not remember Avijnata also. Why? Seized as he was with infatuation. Attachment has clouded him. So he is not able to remember Bhagavan, nor is remembering Avijnata, nor is remembering his own good karmas. This is the pitiable situation of this Puranjana. And not only that, these sacrificial animals that had been mercilessly slaughtered by him chopped him with axes in anger, remembering that cruelty of his. Meaning those remember that earlier it was said that all these animals are waiting for you with, swords and things made of steel, and they will bite you and they will kill you because you have done so much to them. And as a karma phala, you will get. So now he is going through that pain for a long time. So he says, steeped in ignorance, to which there was no limit or end, and having lost his memory, he suffered agony in hell for numberless years, his mind being perverted through attachment to his wife. Now, Bhagavatam makes it very clear here that in the last moments, he was thinking only about his wife, mentally clinging to her alone. Even at the last moment, he was then born as the most beautiful girl in the house of then ruler of Vidarbha. So he is born as a girl. Remember, it has come earlier in 3rd chapter when we were doing Kapil Gita. At that time, Kapil Muni told Devahuti Mata that each one must be very alert about the opposite gender. Why? Because the more the thoughts are obsessed with that opposite gender, that is the birth, that is the possibility in the next life. So the man will become the woman, a woman will become a man. If the mind is obsessed with the opposite gender and one is attached to the opposite gender. Now here he has been thinking, he has been so fascinated and attached to his wife. And last minute also, when so much death and destruction is happening all around, he still can't leave the thought of his wife. So after going through hell, after all the negative karmas, whatever he has done, the animals he has slaughtered, all that, he is going through all the karma phala of that, then he is born as a woman. And where is he born as a woman? In the kingdom of Vidarbha. Now what happens? Malaya Dhwaja is a ruler of the Pandya kingdom. This Malaya Dhwaja marries this princess of Vidarbha. Who is this princess of Vidarbha? That Puranjana only. So, who was offered as the prize of valor after vanquishing all other princes in battle. So he actually won her in battle. Through her, the Malaya Dhwaja begot a lovely daughter with dark eyes and 7 younger sons, who became the 7 rulers of the Dravida kingdom. 100 million sons were born to each one of these latter. To these 7, 100 million sons. Each one of them. So 700 million. By whose descendants the earth will be ruled over for a whole Manvantara and even beyond it. Agastya married the firstborn daughter of Malaya Dhwaja, constant in virtue. Of her was born the sage Dridachyuta, who had a son Idmavaha by name. Now what happened? This Malaya Dhwaja, he divided the earth amongst his 7 sons. That royal sage Malaya Dhwaja took himself to the Kulachala mountain, eager to worship Lord Krishna. See, these Kshatriyas, you will see in Bhagavatam and many other Puranas, lot of the Kshatriyas, they do their duties, they protect the kingdom, they rule the kingdom, they enjoy their life. But whoever has had the spiritual samskar, they will go after a point in time, they will leave everything. And they will go renounce the whole kingdom and they will sit quietly, they will meditate and they will know the truth. So this Malaya Dhwaja, at one point he said, I have done what I had to do. He gave the kingdom to all his children. He went and he took his wife also with him. Abandoning her house, sons, luxuries, the lovely-eyed daughter of the king of Vidarbha followed the lord of the Pandyas, even as moonlight follows the moon. So this wife also went with him. Malaya Dhwaja, his wife also went with him. 3 rivers, Chandravasa, Tamraparni, and Vatodaka, by name, flow in that region. So cleansing the impurities of both his body and mind with their holy waters every day, and subsisting on bulbs and seeds and roots and flowers, fruits, leaves, as well as on blades of grass and water, he practiced austerities, which gradually emaciated his body. All tapasya this Malayadhwaja is doing. So he triumphed over the pairs of opposites, such as heat and cold, storm and rain, hunger and thirst, agreeable, disagreeable, pleasure and pain, viewing all with the same eye. Meaning, he became equanimous. Why? Because the mind is absorbed in thinking of Bhagavan, externalities don't bother. The best way to cultivate equanimity is be absorbed in the higher. See, even in our day-to-day life, it happens that when we have something to achieve, some goal has to be achieved, or some, project has to be completed, or some examination is there. That time, because the mind is, absorbed in achieving that or doing work for that, then we don't pay too much attention to what is happening around us. Even mind is not getting, into extremes. The mind remains focused. It doesn't get distracted. Because something has to be achieved and that intensity comes, that focus comes. And here it is the highest, it is Bhagavan. So, with his latent desires eradicated through asceticism and worship, and having controlled his senses, breath and mind through the religious vows and various forms of discipline, he united with Brahman, meaning infinite, pure consciousness. Now what happened actually? He realized the truth and he dropped the body also. Consciously he left the body. After realizing the truth, he didn't have any attachment to this body, so he ejected the body, and maybe his karma is also over, so he dropped. So he sat motionless like a stump at one place for 100 celestial years. Having found delight in Lord Vasudeva, he ceased to be conscious of everything else. With the light of pure wisdom imparted by the divine Sri Hari himself, which shed luster all around in his heart, he perceived the self, who is a witness of activities of the mind as illumining the body, etc. Now, one analogy is given, and therefore distinct from them, even as a man sees himself apart from his severed head, etc., in a dream, and verily grew indifferent to everything else. So he came to know the self. He came to know I am completely different from the body, and through Bhagwan's grace, Bhagwan only became his guru. So that's what the shloka here says. 40th one, it says that. Yes. And then what happened? He realized himself as one with the transcendent Brahman, and transcendent Brahman as identical with himself. So there is no difference. He is one with Brahman, Brahman is one with him. And giving up even this consciousness, actually rose above and left this body. Now what happened? This Vaidarbhi, because she married the son of, she was born to the king of Vidarbha, so she is called Vaidarbhi. She married Malayadhwaja. So this Vaidarbhi, now Malayadhwaja has attained realization. So this Vaidarbhi, she looked upon her husband as a veritable god, lovingly waited upon her spouse Malayadhwaja, who was conscious of his paramount duty. Now she is also living in some austerity, clad in tatters, emaciated through fasting and other vows, her hair stuck together in knots. She shone beside her husband like a subdued flame by the side of a flameless fire. Now she goes to him. Now he is seated, motionless, he is sitting there. He has departed from this world. She doesn't know that. So she goes to him, and the lady waited upon him as before, little knowing that he was dead. When she did not feel any warmth in the feet of her husband while serving them, she was much perturbed at heart like a doe that had strayed away from its herd. Now she is lamenting because she left kingdom, family, everything. Now she is here in the forest. They both are living alone. They both are living in austerity. Now he is gone. Now, just think about it. In the third canto, we saw about Kapil Muni's story and Devhuti Mata's story. There, Kapil Muni, he does tapasya, and we saw how Brahmaji blesses him that Bhagwan will be born to you as the son, etc. And he also gets 9 daughters. He gets them all married to different Prajapatis, and all that happens. And then finally, he takes permission from Bhagwan and he goes, renounces, and he realizes the self. Devhuti Mata, now husband is gone, daughters have all got married, the son is there. She asks him various questions, and this Kapil Gita we saw. Then he also goes. Kapil Muni also leaves here and goes. But she does not feel helpless. She sits quietly, contemplates, and she realizes oneness with the truth. This is a very big difference. When we have knowledge, when we have clarity, this is my goal of life, then all this loneliness and emotional disturbance and all this will not devastate us. One may feel that when somebody is not there who is near and dear, but one will not get lost, directionless, hopeless, and then one feels what is the use of life? Why am I even living? All that will not happen. This person, this Puranjana, who is now this Vaidarbhi, does not have that samskara at all. Now look at her, how she feels, completely lost, lamenting her lot as she was now friendless and miserable. She felt greatly alarmed and wept loudly. Now she is trying to, so she is obviously first in a denial mode. So she says, arise, stand up, O royal sage, be pleased to protect this earth, girt by the ocean, afraid as she is of robbers and renegade Kshatriyas. Now that young woman who had followed the spouse to the forest fell prostrate at the husband's feet and shed profuse tears. Piling up a pyre of fuel, she laid the body of her husband and setting fire to it, made up her mind to follow him to the other world. See, this is what happens. Devastated, lost. Now she wants to jump into that fire. Again, remember, this is not that, how people portray sati as a mandatory or like people say it is pratha. It is not a pratha. It is a voluntary choice of a woman. Woman could remarry. She could be continue to live as a widow. Or if she wanted, she couldn't handle the grief and she wants, then she does this, that she immolates herself. So it's not like compulsory and the women were compelled to do sati and all that is not a tradition. Sati is not a tradition in our culture at all. So here she says, she feels like this. See, many people will feel natural grief. It is that somebody so close is gone. Suddenly one feels that what is the purpose? Why should I even be alive? So now she is ready to immolate herself as though. That moment, what happens? One friend of hers, that Brahmana comes. Who is that? It is Avijnata, who had mastered his self, appeared there and soothing her with sweet words of consolation, addressed the weeping woman. Now he addresses her. Now what is Avijnata says, you see? Very nice one. First he says, Brahmana Vacha, chapter 28, shloka 52. Katvam kasyami ko vayam shayano yasya shochasi janasi kim sakhayam mam yena agre vichacharthaha. Now you see here. It says, who are you? Kasi. Katvam. Kasyasi. Who are you? Whose are you? Meaning, whose daughter are you? And who is this man lying on the funeral pile, whose death you are mourning? Do you know me, your friend with whom indeed you moved about of yore? See, this Avijnata is not that he doesn't know. So he is asking, who are you? Who is this? Whose daughter are you? Who is this person who is on the pyre? Avijnata knows everything. These questions have a different meaning to make her think that who are you as a Jiva and who are you as Brahman? And you are thinking now you are born to this king of Vidarbha and now this Malaya Dhwaja is your husband and all that. But that is all illusory. That is not true. It will come now, you see. And he reminds her, do you remember a friend? I was your friend. You don't even remember. So we used to move around together. So can you recall yourself as one who had companion Avijnata by name? O friend, leaving whom you went in search of an abode, addicted as you were to earthly enjoyments. So he left that Avijnata and he was searching. That was the story. So he is moving about everywhere. You and I were swans living on the bosom of the Manasa Lake, and remained there for thousands of years without any shelter. Leaving me, you came down to the earth with your mind set on carnal pleasures, and in course of your excursions, you saw an abode erected by some woman with 5 pleasure gardens, 9 entrances, 1 porter, 3 surrounding walls, 6 families of merchants, and 5 marketplaces. If you see these numbers, immediately it should strike us. Very easy it is. 5 pleasure gardens are these, 9 entrances are the 9 exits in this body, 9 exits of the body, 3 surrounding walls. This city, this Jiva is being protected by 3 surrounding walls. 6 families of merchants, they are the Shadvikars. 5 marketplaces, they are the sense objects. Like that it will come, built with 5 materials, that is 5 elements. And had a woman for its mistress. The mind is the woman. Jiva has forgotten its true self, Avijnata. Avijnata means unknown. So the self is unknown to us, and now we are thinking we are this Jiva, and now we are identified with the body, and we want enjoyment. And for enjoyment, we go all over the world, one goes. So that's what happened here. The object of the 5 senses constituted its gardens, and the 9 apertures locating the Indriyas constituted the 9 entrances. Fire, water, earth served as its surrounding walls. The mind and the 5 senses are the 6 merchant families. 5 organs of action constituted the marketplace. 5 elements served as the undecaying material. Dominated by the intellect, the man who entered this abode ceased to be self-conscious. That is Avijnata. Does not know. Overpowered there by the wiles of the woman and enjoying life with her, you forgot your divinity, heard of in the scriptures, and it is through her fellowship that you have been reduced to this most wretched state, O master of yourself. Now see, this is where it is. The Jiva has forgotten its own true self, has got identified with the mistress. Who was the mistress? Which is the mind. So if the mind is happy, I am happy. If the mind is sad, I am sad. If the mind is enjoying, I enjoy. If the mind is angry, I am angry. Full time, Jiva has forgotten who he is. Now identified with the mind, identified with this Jiva Bhav, and then further obviously the other attachments. Now the Jiva goes from one life to another, continuously. See, the limitation of analogy is there here. Don't think suddenly that wife died in that life, and this Puranjana is born here as the woman. The point there is that she is attachment. And in that context of that life, it symbolizes the mind. That Jiva, forgetting one's nature, is so fully identified with the mind. Obviously, the mind comes with us in the next life. In the story that Jiva, that wife is not reborn, that's a limitation of the story. So he reminds her, this Avijnata reminds this Vaidarbhi, that you are not that also and you are not this also. See, this is very beautiful now. Natvam vidarbhaduhita nayam vira suhrittava napatistvam puranjanya ruddho navamukhe yaya maya hyesha maya srishta yat pumam samstriyam satim manyase no bhayam yadvai hamsau pashyavayorgatim. Says, you are not the daughter of the king of Vidarbha, nor is this hero your husband, meaning this Malaya Dvaja. Nor are you the spouse of Puranjani, by whom you were held captive in the city of 9 gates. That lady is called Puranjani. Puranjan's wife she was. You are not that Puranjan, the husband of this Puranjani. You are not this daughter of Vidarbha, nor is this Malaya Dvaja your husband. It is all Maya. Maya Yesha Maya Srishta. This piece of illusion created by me, under which you thought yourself formerly as a man and now regard yourself as a virtuous lady. Saying you are neither man nor woman. How much we go on identifying so much with this gender. See, any exploitation in the name of gender is to be condemned. It is not to be encouraged. But what is Vedanta telling us? We are not this body at all. We are not this male or female. Temporarily, we are in this form for some karmic reasons. And in that, we get so stuck up with this, I am a woman, and rights of the woman and the rights of the man, and it goes on. Building more karmas to again be born in the same form. For what? Or to be born in another opposite gender's form. Both are trouble. If one thinks that woman's life is full of challenges and so many problems a woman has to face in the world, it's better to be born as a man. As though the man's life is free from problems. Enough challenges man also has in different forms. So what does one want? To be a woman or a man? Both are limiting jivas only. And both are getting us in trouble only. Birth after birth, one has to keep taking. So he reminds her that you are neither that Puranjana nor are you this Vaidarbhi. What are you thinking of yourself? You are that infinite consciousness. You and I are a pair of swans. Realize our true nature, which will be described now. I am you and you are no other than me. So even though it is said two, it is said two only because we are seeing duality. Otherwise, it is one Brahman only, one self. So, you are just the same as I. The wise never perceive the least difference between us. Aham bhavanna chanyastvam tvamevaham vichakshva bhoho nanau pashyanti kavayaha chidram jatumanagapi. Just as a man sees himself, his image differently in a mirror and in the pupil of another's eye, the difference between us two is of the same type, meaning it is not really different. One is appearing as two, whether in a reflection or in the pupil of someone's eye. It is same person reflecting in two, but it looks as though they are two. They are not two, there is one. So in that way, evam samanaso hamso hamsena pratibodhitaha swasthastad vyabhicharena nashtamapa punasmritim. So he again regained his memory. Oh, I am that self. I forgot all this. So when this Avijnata, his fellow swan, the swan of Manasa lake, established in his own self and regained his self-consciousness, which had been lost due to having parted company with his friend. So now this is where Naradji ends the story of this Puranjana to Prachin Barhi. So he says, "Oh Prachin Barhi, I have imparted the spiritual truth to you in an indirect manner, for the glorious Lord loves to remain incognito." So Bhagavan gives this knowledge to the devotees in different ways. See the karma that Puranjana did, Puranjana nahi, Prachin Barhi did. Karmas he kept on doing. Those karmas, when he has done with a certain attitude, that is what has invoked the grace of Narad Muni. Grace of Bhagwan, and Narad Muni has come into his life, and then through the story of Puranjana, explained to Prachin Barhi about the limitation of karma, limitation of sense enjoyments, and our true self, what it is. So, though Naradji has explained in brief to him the symbolism of, in what sense, how the swan reminded him, Avijnata, who was a swan. So Avijnata reminds this Vaidarbhi about the self and about how one is not the jiva, one is not the body and all that. But this Prachin Barhi Raja still doesn't understand fully. So he asks Naradji, now you please tell me further details and elaborate this. Why did you tell this story to me? In his context, he wants to understand more clearly. So that we will take up in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. We will end with this arti.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसगन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बनिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम्, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
All right. Hari Om.